There comes a moment in every life when the fire gets hotter, the storm grows stronger, and the night feels longer than it's ever been before. You start wondering, will I make it through this? You feel like everything around you is breaking, your peace, your trust, your strength, and yet somehow you're still here. You didn't break. You didn't lose your mind. You didn't quit. You survived what was sent to destroy you. The test of survival. See, survival isn't about being the strongest. It's about refusing to give up when everything inside you screams, it's over. You may have walked through seasons where people betrayed you, where the doors slammed in your face, where your prayers seemed to bounce back from the ceiling. But through it all, you kept standing. You didn't just survive the attack, you outlasted it. You didn't just make it through the pain, you were refined by it. Every tear you cried watered the seeds of your next victory. Every setback was secretly building your endurance. Every storm was preparing you for the sunlight that's about to break through. Lot, you are still standing. You see, the enemy thought the pressure would crush you, but instead it formed you. He thought that heartbreak would silence you, but instead it deepened you. He thought that loss would end you, but instead it strengthened you. You are not standing here by accident. You are standing because purpose wouldn't let you die. You are breathing because destiny wouldn't let you quit. You are alive because there's still something inside you that heaven is not done using yet. Farpus behind the pain, farpus the pain, by saying, farpus. There's a reason you survived what others didn't. There's a reason you're still here after all you've been through. It's because you have a calling that's bigger than your crisis. Your pain was never meant to be wasted. It was meant to be converted into power, converted into wisdom, converted into purpose. You see, survivors don't just tell stories. They carry testimonies. But you didn't just go through it. You grew through it. Your comeback starts now. This is your moment to rise. But stop replaying the pain and start preparing for the promise. Stop rehearsing what hurt you and start releasing what's ahead of you. The fact that you're still here means there's more to your story. You didn't survive to stay silent. You survived to shine. You didn't survive to hide. You survived to lead. And you didn't survive to live in fear. You survived to walk in faith. Locks, call to action. So stand tall. Wipe your tears. Straighten your crown. Don't apologize for your survival. Celebrate it. Don't minimize your scars. They are proof that the weapon formed did not prosper. Walk out of that valley with your head high because you made it through what was meant to destroy you, and now it's time to build, to rise, to speak, to dream again. You're not just a survivor. You are a testimony in motion. You are living proof that what tried to bury you couldn't hold you down. So go ahead, live boldly, love fiercely, believe fully, because the storm didn't take you out. It qualified you for the victory that's coming next. What didn't kill you made you wiser, stronger, and sharper. That's not just a saying, that's your reality. You've walked through fire and somehow you came out refined, not ruined. You've been through storms that should have washed you away, but you learned how to swim through the chaos instead of sinking in it. You've been in rooms where you weren't understood, faced people who doubted you, fought battles no one saw. And yet here you are, breathing, standing, fighting, growing. That's power. That's growth. That's grace in motion. Here's the truth. What was designed to destroy you was actually disguised training. You didn't know it then, but every painful moment was sharpening your discernment. Every disappointment was forcing you to depend on strength you didn't know you had. Every betrayal was teaching you how to trust wisely, not blindly. Every closed door was redirecting you towards something greater, even when you cried over it. You didn't just go through pain, you graduated from it. You earned wisdom you couldn't buy, clarity you couldn't read in a book, and confidence you couldn't fake. You started to realize that strength isn't about never falling, it's about refusing to stay down. You discovered that the very things that made you cry also made you courageous. You found out that when everything was taken away, you still had something left inside, a will to rise again. That's what survival does. It strips away the illusions and shows you who you really are underneath it all. Think about it. The heartbreak that once made you question your worth, it taught you self-respect. The failure that embarrassed you, it taught you perseverance. The delay that frustrated you, it taught you patience. The people who walked away, they taught you independence. You didn't lose, you learned. You didn't crumble, you evolved. You became more selective, more aware, more grounded. You don't tolerate what you used to tolerate because pain elevated your standards. You learned that peace is more valuable than approval, and silence is more powerful than reacting to every noise. Every challenge that came to break you was secretly building muscle. Emotional muscle, mental toughness, spiritual depth. You learned how to walk through storms with your head high, how to pray through confusion, how to smile even when life hit hard. You learned that faith isn't proven when everything's perfect. Faith is proven when everything's falling apart and you still believe it's going to work out. You see, wisdom is the gold hidden inside the ashes of pain. Every tear carried a lesson. Every loss carried direction. Every season of confusion carried purpose. Life has a strange way of teaching. It doesn't always use comfort. Sometimes it uses chaos. But even in the chaos, you were being molded. You were being upgraded in silence. The pressure didn't destroy you, it defined you. When you look back now, you can see it clearly. The person you were before the pain could never handle the life you're stepping into now. You've developed emotional armor. You've learned how to stand on your own 2 feet. You've learned that not everyone who claps for you is with you, and not everyone who walks away is your loss. You've learned that not getting what you wanted was sometimes the best gift life could have given you. And now you carry wisdom that can't be shaken. You can sense energy. You can read intentions. You can smell fake from miles away. You no longer react, you respond. You no longer chase, you attract. You no longer seek validation, you walk in purpose. You no longer depend on approval. You move with assurance. You've been through enough to know that every wound was shaping you into a weapon of resilience. The things that once broke you are now the reason you stand tall. You survived the lesson, but you also became the lesson. You are living proof that pain doesn't end your story. It rewrites it. And every time life tried to push you down, you came back sharper, wiser, and stronger than ever before. Your scars are not shame. They're proof you overcame. Every mark, every memory, every painful moment that left its trace on your soul is a testimony that you made it through what others didn't. You see, scars tell stories that survival wrote. They whisper, I've been through fire and I'm still standing. You might not realize it, but those scars are sacred. They're evidence that you've been tested, tried, and transformed. They don't make you weak, they make you real. You once thought those scars were ugly reminders of your past. You tried to hide them, to cover them up, to pretend the pain never happened. But now you're learning something powerful. Scars don't mean you're broken, they mean you're healed. The wound has closed, the bleeding stopped. The lesson settled in. The scar is just what's left to remind you of your victory. Every time you see it, you're looking at proof that you fought a battle and made it out alive. There was a time when you didn't think you'd survive that heartbreak, that betrayal, that loss. There were nights when you thought the pain would consume you. Days when you couldn't even recognize yourself in the mirror because life had changed everything. But the truth is, every time you wanted to quit, something inside of you said, not yet, keep going. That strength, that fire, that willpower, that's what those scars represent. Scars don't lie. They tell the truth of what you've been through and how powerful you really are. Some people see them as damage, but those who've been through real storms know a scar means you healed. It means you faced what others ran from. It means you endured what others couldn't handle. You're not fragile, you're forged. You're not broken, you're battle-tested. You've seen dark days, but you've also seen light break through right when it felt like all hope was gone. You've learned how to smile through pain, how to stand when your legs trembled, how to trust again after being betrayed, how to believe again after being disappointed. That's what your scars say. They're not a sign of defeat, they're a badge of honor. They show you fought wars that no one clapped for, cried tears that no one saw, and healed in silence when the world expected you to fall apart. The world celebrates polished perfection, but real strength doesn't come from looking flawless. It comes from carrying scars with pride. Scars say, I've been broken, but I rebuilt. Scars say, I've been hurt, but I healed anyway. Scars say, I faced my worst days and I'm still here. You're not less because of what you've been through. You're more aware, more resilient, more human. You've discovered that scars have voices. They speak courage. Every time you feel that ache in your heart, every time you remember what once hurt you, it's not weakness, it's memory, reminding you of your strength. You can look back now and see how far you've come. The pain that once made you question your purpose became the pathway that revealed it. What you carry on the inside tells a story more powerful than words. Scars build empathy. They teach you how to feel for others, how to listen deeply, how to love fiercely. They teach you how to appreciate peace after chaos and joy after sorrow. They remind you that healing doesn't erase the past, it redeems it. You've been through things that could have turned your heart cold, but instead they made it wise. You could have become bitter, but instead you became better. And now, when you walk into a room, people may not see the scars under your smile, but they can feel the strength in your spirit. They can sense the survivor in your silence, the fire in your calm, the faith in your steps. You've turned pain into power, wounds into wisdom, and survival into strength. Every scar on your soul is proof that you're not just living, you're overcoming again and again. You're standing because purpose refused to let you fall. You didn't make it this far by luck or coincidence. You made it because something greater inside you refused to quit. There were moments when you felt empty, when you had no strength left, when your tears became your language and silence became your shield. You almost gave up, almost walked away, almost surrendered to the weight that crushed your spirit, but you didn't. Why? Because destiny wouldn't let you. Purpose held you up when your strength couldn't. It whispered in your ear, not yet, you're not done, there's more in you. You see, you were born with a divine assignment stitched into your soul. Life has thrown everything at you to make you forget it. Heartbreak, loss, rejection, disappointment, loneliness. But every time you were knocked down, something invisible pulled you back up. That wasn't luck, that was purpose protecting its investment. You carry something inside you that the world needs, and that's why you're still standing when others couldn't. You have been preserved for a reason. There were seasons where you didn't even understand why you were still standing. You asked yourself, why am I still here? Why didn't that break me? Why do I keep getting back up? It's because purpose is relentless. It doesn't quit when you're tired. It doesn't stop when you're hurting. It doesn't back down when life gets hard. Purpose keeps breathing life into you even when you've stopped believing in yourself. It's the quiet push that says there's still more for you to do. Purpose doesn't need permission to move. It moves through your pain, your fears, your insecurities, your failures. It moves through the things that tried to bury you. It moves through the storms that tried to drown you. It keeps guiding your steps even when you can't see the road. You didn't survive by chance. You survived by design. You were chosen to stand, to endure, to rise, to shine. When you thought your story was over, purpose was just turning the page. When you thought your voice was silenced, purpose was preparing your next platform. When you thought the darkness had won, purpose was quietly building your dawn. You couldn't see it then, but every delay, every detour, every painful pause was part of a divine redirection. You weren't being denied, you were being developed. There were times when you didn't even recognize your own strength, but purpose saw it before you did. That's why the pressure was so heavy, because what's inside you is powerful. Diamonds aren't formed in comfort, they're formed under fire. You were shaped by struggle, refined by resistance, and strengthened by seasons that were meant to break you. Every moment of pain was preparing you to carry the weight of your purpose. You've faced situations that should have left you bitter, but they made you better. You faced losses that should have left you hopeless, but they taught you endurance. You faced silence from heaven, but even in that silence, purpose was speaking louder than you realized. It was saying, keep walking even when you don't understand, keep believing even when nothing makes sense, keep standing even when you're shaking. That's the power of divine purpose. It anchors you when everything else falls apart. Purpose doesn't just keep you alive. It gives meaning to your survival. It turns every painful chapter into a powerful message. It transforms your wounds into wisdom, your tests into testimonies, your obstacles into opportunities. It refuses to let you settle for less than what you were created for. You may not have seen the full picture yet, but purpose already sees your ending and it's victorious. Every time life tried to knock you down, purpose reminded you who you are. Every time people walked away, purpose whispered, you still have me? Every time the odds were against you, purpose showed you that faith doesn't need odds to win. You didn't stand because it was easy. You stood because your assignment demanded it. You are not here by accident. You're here because you carry something inside you that refuses to die. A divine spark, a calling, a mission that will not let you fall. What was meant to break you built you. That's the truth you start to understand only after the storm passes and you look back at everything that tried to destroy you. You realize it wasn't random, it was refining. The pain had a purpose. The pressure had an intention. The fire wasn't meant to burn you down. It was meant to burn off everything that wasn't meant to stay. Every heartbreak, every betrayal, every loss was molding you into someone stronger, wiser, more grounded than before. You thought it was breaking you apart, but it was actually building you from the inside out. The very things that made you cry were carving out your capacity. The rejection that shattered you was redirecting you. The disappointment that crushed your spirit was strengthening your discernment. Every moment that felt like destruction was actually divine construction. Sometimes life has to strip you down to your foundation before it can rebuild you stronger than ever. You had to lose what was temporary to gain what was timeless. You had to be emptied before you could be filled with purpose. You thought you were breaking when people walked away, but you were actually being released from what couldn't carry you to your destiny. You thought you were breaking when life fell apart, but that fall was setting the stage for your rise. You thought it was the end, but it was the beginning of becoming who you were always meant to be. The pain that once made you question everything became the teacher that taught you what truly matters. The things you once prayed to keep were the very things holding you back from growth. It's easy to thank life when everything is going right, but it's the broken seasons that shape your strength. When you had nothing left but faith, you discovered how powerful faith really is. When the world went silent, you learned how to hear the still voice inside you. When you had to walk alone, you learned how to depend on something greater than yourself. That's when you started to realize that what broke your comfort zone built your calling. You see, the breaking was never about punishment, it was about preparation. You had to be broken in the right places so you could rebuild with intention. You had to be stretched beyond your limits so you could see how limitless your spirit truly is. The cracks in your life didn't destroy you, they let the light in. The losses you faced weren't empty, they were making room for something better. Every time life stripped something away, it was silently saying, you don't need that to become who you're meant to be. There were nights you didn't think you'd recover. There were days when your heart felt too heavy to carry. There were moments when you whispered, why me? Not realizing that life was answering because you can handle it. What was meant to break you was building endurance, character, and power. You learned how to walk through fire and come out shining. You learned how to stand in the storm and still find peace. You learned how to take the pain and use it as fuel instead of fear. Every hardship you faced became the foundation of your resilience. Every closed door taught you that what's meant for you can't be blocked. Every betrayal revealed who truly belonged in your story. Every loss became a lesson, every tear became a seed, and every struggle became a stepping stone. You didn't know it then, but life was building something unshakable inside you. A strength that no storm can steal. What was meant to break you forced you to grow beyond what you thought possible. It forced you to dig deeper, to believe harder, to rise higher. It taught you that you are not defined by what happened to you, but by what you decided to become afterward. You've been tested, but the test didn't end you, it evolved you. You've been hurt, but the hurt didn't harden you, it humbled you. You've been shaken, but the shaking didn't destroy your foundation. It revealed how strong it really was. So now, when you look back, you can see it. Every painful piece had purpose. The same fire that tried to consume you is the one that refined you. The same storm that tried to drown you taught you how to walk on waves. The same valley that made you cry built the courage you carry now. You didn't just survive what was meant to break you, you were rebuilt by it. Brick by brick, moment by moment, becoming a masterpiece made out of brokenness. Your comeback will be louder than your setback. The very thing that tried to silence you will one day be the reason people listen. You may have been knocked down, overlooked, and underestimated, but your story isn't over yet. You've walked through seasons of pain that made you question your purpose, seasons where everything fell apart, where it felt like the ground disappeared beneath your feet. But what you didn't know was that every setback was a setup in disguise. The delay wasn't denial, it was divine preparation. The pause wasn't punishment, it was positioning. You see, life has a way of hiding greatness in the shadows before revealing it to the light. You may have felt forgotten, but you were actually being fortified. You may have been slowed down, but that slowdown was saving you from things that weren't aligned with your destiny. Every closed door was protection. Every disappointment was direction. Every no you faced was pushing you toward a bigger yes that was waiting ahead. You thought it was over, but heaven was just getting started. There were moments when it felt like everything you worked for was slipping through your fingers. You cried, you prayed, you wondered if your time would ever come, but in silence you were being sharpened. In darkness you were being developed, just like a seed buried in the soil. Your growth was hidden for a reason. You weren't buried to die. You were planted to rise. The soil of struggle was necessary for the roots of strength to grow deep. Without the pressure, you wouldn't have discovered your power. Without the waiting, you wouldn't have built your wisdom. Your setback was never the end of your story. It was the birthplace of your comeback. When life knocked you down, it wasn't to destroy you, it was to remind you what you're made of. You rose before and you'll rise again. You've lost things you thought you couldn't live without, only to find out that your peace mattered more. You've been betrayed by people you trusted, but it taught you how to trust yourself. You faced rejection, but it only redirected you to something greater. Every fall built foundation. Every pain built perspective. Every storm built stamina. There's a version of you that can only be revealed through recovery. The process of rising again teaches you who you are. Beyond titles, beyond applause, beyond approval. You start realizing that resilience isn't built in comfort, it's born in chaos. The moments that embarrassed you, the failures that haunted you, the seasons that humbled you, they were all chapters leading you toward your breakthrough. You are not who you were before the setback. You've seen too much, felt too deeply, and grown too far. You carry wisdom now that only comes from walking through fire and surviving it. The comeback version of you is grounded, focused, and fearless. You're no longer moved by the noise of doubt because you've already heard the silence of heartbreak and made it through. You no longer chase validation because you've learned that real value comes from within. You've become the kind of person that can rise from ruins and still find beauty in the ashes. The world counted you out, but they forgot one thing. You don't quit. You may bend, but you don't break. You may fall, but you rise with lessons that make you unstoppable. Every setback gave you a story that will inspire someone else to keep fighting. Every struggle built strength you'll use to help others stand. Every loss created space for something far more meaningful to enter your life. There's a comeback inside you that's going to silence every doubt, outshine every shadow, and outweigh every pain you've endured. The same people who overlooked you will have no choice but to notice the glow that comes from someone who refused to stay down. You've been through enough to understand that comebacks aren't luck. They're built through patience, persistence, and faith. You kept moving even when you didn't feel like it. You kept believing even when everything looked hopeless. You kept standing even when your legs shook. That's what makes your comeback different. It's not just about winning again, it's about becoming someone who refuses to lose themselves in the process. The beauty of a comeback is that it never looks like what tried to break you. You come out refined, not ruined. Stronger, not bitter. Focused, not fearful. You rise not to prove anyone wrong, but to prove to yourself that the fall was never the finish. You are the comeback story the world needs to see. The living example that every ending can lead to a greater beginning and every setback can be turned into the loudest, most powerful comeback ever written. Live boldly, you're proof that survival is possible. Every breath you take, every step you make, every morning you rise after nights that should have broken you is a declaration that you are still here for a reason. You've been through things that could have crushed your spirit, but you refuse to stay down. You've faced storms that tried to silence your voice, yet you're still speaking. You've seen darkness that tried to steal your light, but it couldn't dim your fire. You are not just living, you are evidence that resilience is real. There's a certain power in someone who's been through hell and still has hope. That's you. You carry a strength that can't be taught in classrooms or learned from books. You carry a wisdom that only pain can produce. You carry a light that shines brighter because of the shadows you've walked through. Every time you stand tall, you're showing the world that broken doesn't mean beaten, and wounded doesn't mean weak. You are walking proof that even when life hits hard, faith hits harder. You've survived nights where your pillow caught your tears, and mornings where your smile was just armor. You've learned to live through uncertainty, to push through exhaustion, to fight battles no one even knows you fought. And yet here you are, still rising, still loving, still believing. You didn't just come through the fire. You came through refined. You didn't just make it out, you made it stronger. The world sees your calm, but it doesn't know the chaos you conquered to have that peace. Living boldly doesn't mean you never feel fear. It means you refuse to let fear decide your future. You've spent too long surviving. Now it's time to live. It's time to walk with confidence, to take up space, to show up fully as who you are. You've spent seasons shrinking yourself so others wouldn't feel uncomfortable, hiding your strength so others wouldn't feel small, silencing your truth to keep the peace. But the world doesn't need another watered-down version of you. It needs your fire, your story, your authenticity. The very things you thought disqualified you are what make you powerful. Every scar you carry is a message someone else needs to hear. Every lesson you've learned through pain is wisdom that can lift another soul. You've survived enough storms to teach others how to find shelter. You've walked through enough darkness to guide others toward the light. That's why you can't play small anymore. There's too much purpose in you, too much strength in your spirit, too much proof in your presence. You are born to be an example of what survival looks like when it turns into success. There's something magnetic about someone who's been through pain but still chooses joy. The world can feel it when you walk in a room. The calm confidence, the quiet power, the glow that comes from grace. You don't have to shout your strength. It's written all over you. It's in the way you handle pressure with patience, in the way you forgive what tried to break you, in the way you still dream after disappointment. You've reached a place where survival has transformed into strength and strength into purpose. You no longer live to prove anything. You live to be present, to be grateful, to be alive in the fullness of who you are. You understand now that every breath is a gift, every sunrise a reminder, every step forward a victory. You're not chasing perfection anymore. You're embracing progress. You're not waiting for the world to validate you. You're validating yourself by showing up every day with courage. You've learned that life isn't about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning to dance in the rain. It's about speaking when your voice trembles, loving when your heart fears, standing when your knees shake. Living boldly means knowing you might fall again and still choosing to rise. It means knowing the path ahead won't always be easy, but walking it anyway with faith as your guide. You are the proof someone else is praying to see. Proof that broken hearts can heal. Proof that weary souls can rise. Proof that after pain comes power, and after loss comes life again. You've been through too much to live timidly now. It's your time to step into every dream, every promise, every purpose that survived the storm with you. The same strength that carried you through the fire is the same strength that will carry you into your future unafraid, unshaken, and unstoppable.